Misty mountains cold.
Is this that Hobbit shit?
Hello and welcome back to That Hobbit Shit. I'm Mike.
I'm Corey.
Hey Corey, what are we talking about today's episode?
Oh, hey Mike. We're on to chapter 4 of The Two Towers. This chapter is entitled The Oversharing Tree.
Oh boy. He does overshare.
He sure does.
Imagine what he said in his sleep about the Endwives.
Mike, you're going to spoil my summary.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, get comfy because this is a very long moot of a chapter. So once we last left Merry and Pippin, they had just enjoyed a medieval times-esque dinner and a show as the Uruk-hai were being slaughtered by the Rohirrim.
Yay!
Yeah, hooray for victory. So following that, the boys went into the forest, Fangorn Forest. They hung out by the Entwash for a spell and had a hobbity, bickery sort of conversation about nothing in particular. An example of the nonsense they talked about is that Pippin compared the forest to the room in which his great-great-grandfather died and that no one has been in or cleaned for over a century. All very, very hobbity and pointless. So after yet another picnic, they climbed up a rocky hill to get a little view of the land. They stood by a tree that was actually a guy, or maybe the guy was actually a tree. It's a bit murky, but we'll get to more on that later. He looked like the kind of broken old tree that a hobbit gardener would call someone to come and cut down. He placed a hand on each of the hobbit's shoulders so they couldn't possibly escape. He had that old man strength, you know. My name is Treebeard, he said, but do you know what else they call me? Merry and Pippin nervously laughed, expecting the worst here, and asked what? Fangorn was his other name. So is he the forest? Does he own the forest? He commands the forest? It's a bit murky, but more on that later. So Merry and Pippin realized that if this guy is actually the forest, he's probably pretty cool and pretty important. Treebeard wanted to step on them at first, what with his huge 7-toed feet and all, but that's because he thought they might be orcs. Pippin said it happens all the time. Treebeard had a pretty neat rhyme about keeping track of all the different peoples in Middle-earth. Merry and Pippin were relieved that it wasn't blatantly offensive and didn't try to rhyme things like Nantucket. But hobbits weren't even in it, Mike. They had to add an extra line.
A whole new line for hobbits.
New line for hobbit. What can you rhyme with hobbit? I won't try.
Slobbit.
Hobbits, half tall, slobbits all. Good rhyming there. Okay. And so this old man they met at the bus stop continued to talk their little hobbit's ears off. He'd occasionally slip into another language, Old Entish, but it's hard to say if the hobbits noticed. He mentioned Gandalf at some point. Turns out they were bros, you know, before the Balrog thing happened. Bit awkward that. And it's say again.
I called him Gandalf.
Mike, have some respect. He's dead.
Oh, for now.
Mike, have some respect. So yeah, it seemed like the bus that they were waiting for was never going to come. So Treebeard offered to take the hobbits to his house for the night. Naturally, the hobbits accepted. And the three talked as they went. Since Merry and Pippin obviously wanted to seem cool, and with it, they tried to do some name dropping, and they mentioned Celeborn. Kind of an odd choice, if you ask me, but 3,000 years into the Third Age, knowing Celeborn is apparently a pretty big deal. But it turns out, Mike, that Treebeard knew Celeborn from way back, before it was even a big deal to know Celeborn. So, sorry, boys, no impressing this tree. It's also unclear if he listens when the hobbits talk. Also, as a side note, it seems that elves were the ones to wake up the trees. Best to remember that one. And Treebeard also explained to the hobbits the way that he used to breathe. And eventually, they made it to his Ent house. Even though it was late, the old tree man just would not stop talking. It turns out that he had counted how many steps it took to get there. 70,000. Merry and Pippin looked at each other nervously again. Was it going to get weird? There was no furniture in the house, just a couple glowing buckets and a shelf. The hobbits drank from the buckets. It tasted like something they couldn't place. Its entire
Sorry.
It's entirely possible the hobbits grew an extra toe or two because of what they drank. Treebeard asked the hobbits to talk now and to tell them their story from start to finish, but the tree kept interrupting them and kept asking questions, leading questions that seemed normal at first, but it wasn't long before Pippin had told him his social insurance number and at least 2 of his online passwords. And then the tree started telling him about his ex-wife, or wives.
Oh, God.
I had to make sure that one hit properly. It turns out he hadn't seen any of his wives for so long that he couldn't even describe them. But he got all heated when Saruman and his orcs came up. He certainly loved stories about orc murder. He also made more sly references to Gandalf every so often, making it clear which wizard was his favorite and which his most hated. He assured the hobbits that he was not politically minded, but then went off on a rant about the current political climate in Middle-earth. He trailed off and swore a lot in his own language. Saruman and his orcs were into tree poaching, it seems. He started walking back and forth and yelling, and all the hobbits could do was sit on their shelf and listen. But the hobbits were generally on his side because of their recent kidnapping. It was all very exciting, talking of political uprisings and revolutions, etc., but the talk inevitably returned to the ex-wives. He talked about all their marital problems and how he liked to wander, a rambling man, if you will. And when he felt like seeing the wives, they weren't at any of the old honky-tonks and bars they used to frequent. And some of those bars had even closed down and were parking lots now. And funny enough, the wives didn't hang out at these new parking lots. So he never figured out how to find his ex-wives. In the end, all he could do was yell their names over and over again. They decided to go to sleep. When the hobbits awoke, Treebeard was already up and about and telling personal stories. They drank from the other bucket this time, and it tasted like something else. Treebeard had decided to call a meeting of all of the Ents. It would be at Durndingle, he said with a wink. He picked up the boys and set off to the moot. Durndingle was an old assembly hall lined with folding chairs and a worn hardwood floor. There were already plenty of old tree men there, and more were arriving. Maybe close to 50 were there for the moot. The moot, pardon me. It turned out that tree people looked nothing like each other. 7 toes wasn't even a rule among them. Some had 3, some had 9, some probably had none. Who knows, really? The eyes, though, they were all the same. But Merry and Pippin didn't have time to think much about it because, I quote the text here, a curious and unintelligible conversation began. It was impossible to hear anything anyone said because they were all telling very personal stories at the same time. Merry and Pippin got bored very quickly, and the only beer they had at the hall was Labatt 50, so they couldn't even enjoy a pint. But when Pippin yawned, every single set of those deep Ent eyes looked at him. Go out and dingle while the adults talk, they said. So the hobbits gladly went outside. They discussed which bus routes might get them back to civilization the fastest, and they hoped they might not accidentally take the express bus to Isengard and more pinching. Several hours passed. Treebeard finally came outside to explain the day's itinerary to the hobbits. With him was a, quote, hasty Ent. He looked quite a bit younger than Treebeard. His name was Quickbeam. Since the moot still required the drinking of dozens more Labatt 50s, Quickbeams took the hobbits for a walk. He was a cool guy who was a lot more with it than Treebeard. He really liked rowan trees, Mike. Like, really liked rowan trees.
As much as you and me? Or more?
Would you know a rowan tree if you saw it?
I would, actually.
Okay, I'm impressed. I wouldn't.
Well, that's your loss.
Yeah, that's true. Because if Quickbeam taught us anything, it's that rowan trees are just the best.
They're pretty good.
Okay, and he took the hobbits to his house. They could still hear the noise of the moot. Quickbeam didn't need to be there because of a rowan tree massacre, so he was set on attacking Saruman and Isengard. Turns out that's what the whole moot was about. The hobbits weren't completely sure since Treebeard hadn't stopped talking to them in the 36 hours since they met him, so they really didn't know what was going on. Another day passed. It was the 3rd day. It seemed like the moot was mooting to an end. Even the dingle was quiet. Suddenly, the whole forest awoke. To war! The moot came to the warring conclusion. They sang a warring song, and all the Ents and the hobbits set off to the south and to do murder. And the moral of this chapter is don't fuck with your neighbor's trees.
A great moral. Great summary, Corey. What is going on?
They met an old man at the bus stop, and he would not stop talking to them.
but the only food for the brave and true comes from the Green Dragon.
Welcome to the Green Dragon, where we discuss the beers we're drinking during today's episode. Corey, what you got?
Mike, I foolishly drank the beer that I had set aside for this chapter like weeks ago. I don't know why I thought I didn't need it anymore, but I thought I didn't
because
need it anymore.
We kept delaying recording. That's why.
Yeah, maybe that was it. I think I may have actually bought it like in the fall, and it is July right now. But anyway, so I got a new one here. I'm drinking a cider. Cider comes from apples, which come from trees, Mike.
That's right. Yes.
Little hint there. And it's also called Untamed.
Oh.
Much like the trees that have become entish and the ents that have become tree-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Untamed. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Tell me about it. I don't like cider, so tell me about it in a nice light.
Well, it's a dry cider, so it's not like overly sweet.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah. It's from a place called Lockmore Cider Company, which is in Prince Edward County. It's pretty good. I've had it before. It's I think all their ciders are like wild fermented. So it's got kind of like that stinky fermenty kind of hint to it that I quite love. But yeah, it's pretty good. I think a really good cider is a really good like treat. But I don't think I could drink cider as often as I drink beer.
I understand what you mean because I always feel overwhelmed by cider.
Overwhelmed by the taste, or like the
the taste, the richness, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think the average cider is very, very sweet and like it probably has a lot of sugar added, I would think.
That's probably why I don't like them, because I've only had really sweet ones, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. This is I've only found this cider at a little stand at the farmer's market that's near my house. So
I love those.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that they can sell alcohol now. That's the new thing for Ontario.
I was eyeballing some brandy today.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get any, but I was eyeballing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the first step.
Yeah. Yeah. So Corey, my beer.
Yes.
My beer. I'm drinking an arboreal IPA with Grand Fir, spruce, hemlock tips, elderflower, chaga, and old man's beard.
Okay, you made up the last part.
I did not.
And Mike, if your beer has chaga in it, that's officially a health drink.
Is it?
Sure, yeah. Chaga is like a miracle cure-all, isn't it?
It's a mushroom, right? Old man's beard is also a mushroom, right? Or is that a moss?
I have no idea. I've never heard of that.
It's a lichen.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I found this randomly at the liquor store here. It's from Howell Brewing. I didn't know anything about them, but I bought a couple of these.
Oh, yeah.
And then I ran into a guy who worked at a restaurant at my friend's birthday party.
Yeah.
And I was drinking a different Howell Brewing beer, and he was telling me and some other people about Howell Brewing because he assumed I knew about them. Yeah. It's just like, it's this guy who runs his own brewery, and it's in like this tiny area. Like all he has room for is like his brewing equipment and then like a lawn chair, basically. And he never makes the same thing twice. And the restaurant this guy works at they'd always buy what do you call it? Not a full keg. It would be like, I don't know what they're called, like half keg or whatever you call it.
Oh, is that like a cask or is that different? That's probably different.
I don't know. You've seen them. They're like tubes. They look like torpedoes, kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd always be down for one, but they never know what they were going to get. Because it's always different. Yeah. It was like, yeah, he brings some wild stuff over because he just does whatever he wants. Like the arboreal IPA with old man's beard in it.
Mike, it sounds like you're literally drinking the forest.
Yeah. Wonder if it tastes like the strange drink that Treebeard was giving the hobbits.
Well, I think there was definitely old man's beard in the drink that the hobbits were drinking.
Yeah. but not from his face. Is that what you were saying?
Probably from his face. They said his
Oh.
face is like very mossy. Like I think
Yeah.
Treebeard might be a lichen.
Oh yeah, his beard is probably lichen. I wish I had thought about that before this cover photo, but that's fine. That's fine.
Mike, this goes back to our conversation about the sights and sounds and flavors and ferments of Middle Earth. Like,
Yeah,
I bet
Yeah,
the
that-
Ents make a dank beer.
the Entwash might be a dank beer. You're right. It could be an IPA. Like you can't quite put your finger on what's going on there sometimes.
It's a little bitter and
Yeah. That's what I'm drinking. Treebeard IPA. Okay.
well, how does it taste? Do you like it?
Oh right, it has a very let me give it another little. It's really complicated. I really like it. The spruce tips are not overpowering. Have you ever had a spruce tip beer?
I don't know. Not that I can recall.
It can be a lot, and it's nice. It's like pretty pushed back here.
Oh, okay.
And you can definitely taste the floral notes. I wouldn't have been able to tell you there was lichen or mushroom, but there's another bunch of stuff going on in here.
Sweet.
It's good. It has a bit of it's like sweet but tart, and IPA is pretty hard on it, but it's good.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Did you say it was like Howl, like HOWL?
HOWL, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I have to get a picture before I throw this out because I'll probably never find another can.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, be careful.
Yeah. Careful at this one. Okay. Shall we move on to notes for it? Give some
Yes. That sounds good. Mike, what's your first note?
My first note is the smiles. Is that how you say it? Of Tookborough?
Yeah,
Or Smiles?
I would say smiles. I think.
That part just killed me. You mentioned it in your summary, but like this smells like the old Took's like unwashed death chair room.
I don't remember if it's the beginning. Like it might be the Concerning Hobbits thing at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, or maybe it comes up in the Hobbit. I don't know, but like they talk about like the Took house and how big it is or whatever.
Yeah, it just goes on for like a mile underground.
Yeah, how fucked is it that they just have death rooms like that? And like
It's probably not the only one, and they probably don't have windows either.
No, they definitely don't. They can't. And like, how long was the old Took just like hanging out in there before he died? Like, did he ever leave?
Yeah, good point. They might not have even known he died for a while.
Someone just happened upon him, like, oh my god, you're the oldest hobbit that's ever lived.
Yeah. And then he just let out the sigh, and that was it.
Finally, yeah. Yeah, that's did I have more notes about that? Hold on, sorry, let me oh no, I don't. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, that's that's a good one. And it should have been just
it was also a really good descriptor. You know, when you go into a thick forest and it's like, yeah, that's some old smells.
yeah, I kind of love that. That's where Pippin's mind like instantly went.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's pretty. I love examples of how ridiculous a Hobbit mind is. Like they just, they're so weird.
Yeah, we haven't gotten one in a while.
the most one of the most famous hobbits, we know the room that he died in. Okay, I got a note for you, Mike. So Ents became more like trees, or trees became more like Ents. Any thoughts?
Do you mean which was it?
Or how does that work even? I'm not sure.
Oh, like how trees turn into people somehow?
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried not to give it too much thought.
That's probably a good idea.
Elves just chose to whisper to some trees.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing too. And then Treebeard mentions at some point that was like a really great gift from the elves.
But as far as we know, they haven't done it for anything else.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very good point.
But we don't know for sure, because if the hobbits hadn't happened upon Treebeard, nobody would know about him.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. I don't want to. No, I won't. I don't want to spoil anything. Treebeard comes up in the next chapter.
Yeah. Oh, does it? I haven't read ahead.
Yeah, I was reading ahead so I could get started on my illustration.
Oh, okay. Okay. Speaking of foreshadowing, I noted the foreshadowing of Treebeard. The hobbits just are so checked out that they don't realize they're going up a set of stairs. They're like, when they're climbing up that hill, it's like it was almost as if the stairs were cut out of.
Oh yeah.
There's something else that happens too. That's like very clearly there's somebody there. Like it was a lookout point or something.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, look at that old tree. It kind of almost looks like a person, and like
they just wander towards it
and just sit next to it, discussing trees.
Yeah. In a mildly insulting manner.
It's also a little twisted to think that that Treebeard like would actually just like step on orcs with his dirty old feet, and like thought about stepping on.
Did you look up how big he is?
I believe it said he was 14 feet high.
Yeah.
That's kind of fucked.
Yeah, a hobbit is what, like 2 feet?
Yeah, give or take, approximately.
Pretty wildly different.
Yeah, it would. I think it would be like stepping on a squirrel, maybe.
That's messy business.
Yes, it is very messy business.
If you're not squishing a big caterpillar is bad enough. I've stepped on one of those banana slugs before.
Oh, those things.
By accident.
Oh.
And it was not fun. I can't imagine a squirrel.
Yep. This is maybe gross, but we used to have a place that I work. We actually had like pretty big cockroaches, and I used to joke about like, oh, I'd never step on one of those. That'd be like stepping on a mouse because they were like really big. Yeah. And then one day I actually did step on a mouse, and it wasn't funny at all. It was really horrible. And a mouse is a lot smaller than a squirrel.
Yeah. Boy, Treebeard, he's got an evil side, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He's when he gets roused, if you will.
That part was cool too.
When he got all heated?
Yeah. Had to cool himself down.
Oh yeah. He just took a shower and started laughing. He's a pretty fun guy. Okay, actually this is a good segue into one of my notes. For a race that fancies itself not hasty, Treebeard sure as shit was quick to trust the hobbits and tell them literally everything about himself.
I might have a bit of that in my Madam, Corey.
Okay, I can stop there.
I might.
It's just something, you know.
Yeah, there's something there. How about
that? Okay, I'll leave it at that.
My note was Treebeard is just the coolest.
Yeah, okay. I took a bit of a negative turn to him in my summary, but yeah, Treebeard is awesome.
Just has multiple homes through the forest. He goes running off, doesn't mind carrying the hobbits for miles and miles.
And he's actually like, it's kind of wild the different things that he seems to have his mind on. Like he counts all of his steps, and yet he can carry on a conversation. And like, I don't know, he's fucked.
Yeah, there's some magic about him too. Like
yes,
he definitely some sort of spell over his water.
Yeah. That kind of is a slight other note of mine is like, it's pretty fucking wild that the trees move and react to him.
Yeah.
Like maybe another sign of, like you said, how checked out the hobbits were. Like how like not only did this one tree turn out to be a guy, as the guy's walking through the forest, he's like saying hello to trees and they're answering and like moving out of his way. This is insane.
And the hobbits, yeah, like how'd they not notice him?
And how are they not just like blown away by everything that's happening? They're just like, it's just a regular day for these two.
Yeah, it's part of why the hobbits can handle the ring. Like they're not overwhelmed by insanity.
Because they're just oblivious to everything.
Yeah.
Middle Earth is so cool.
Yeah, I know. I just this chapter really amped me up.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's quite a long chapter too. Like a shit ton happens. Like kind of when they like meet up with Quickbeam could have even been its own chapter, but
I forgot this was all the same chapter. Like the Entmoot was one chapter. Are you kidding?
that's what I thought when I was trying to write the summary. I was like, oh dear God.
You summarized it quite well though, because there's a lot that happens that is of no consequence.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Especially if you're irreverent about it.
Like the hobbits deciding that, or trying to explain that like they need a bed to sleep in. They don't just stand around.
Yeah.
And Treebeard being confused. I picked out a Treebeard quote that sounded very familiar.
Oh yeah.
He said, "That's a bundle of news, and make no mistake."
Oh, I think Treebeard's dialogue might be like some of the most direct quotes from the book in the Peter Jackson movies.
Oh yeah,
He says a
probably.
lot of stuff that like, yeah,
He gets a lot of screen time in the movies compared to his time in the book. Like it's almost like 1-to-1. So many other characters are cut down.
yeah. Treebeard gets, yeah, he definitely gets a lot of time in the movie. Yeah. Ooh, that'll
Yeah.
be fun to talk about.
But that quote reminded me of Sam.
Yeah, definitely. That is, yeah, I think that is a Sam quote, and I think Treebeard and Gandalf. I think both of their dialogue ends up being used by other people in the movies.
Yeah, I think so. Like, or it gets intertwined between them too.
Yeah,
Well, wise old fellas, aren't they?
yeah, they're friends, you know.
Yeah, Gandalf's the only wizard that likes trees.
Yeah, and the only wizard that's polite enough to tell stories. Oh yeah, that was his
Wait.
big thing. Sorry.
Oh, well, you go ahead first because I got a big one here.
Okay. I like that Treebeard's reason for like in the end really hating Saruman is that like of all the stories he told Saruman never told him any stories.
Like, burning down his friends is bad enough, but did not share a story.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Very-
even give me a
very
chance.
Hobbitish, isn't it?
Yeah, actually.
Um, so has Treebeard never heard of Radagast?
Oh my God. Wow, that never crossed my mind because Radagast would probably be like so fanboy around him.
Yeah, they'd be best buds. Like maybe Radagast just doesn't go very far.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, or maybe he's bros with like one of the other Ents. Like maybe he's really into rowan trees, and so him and Quickbeam are tight.
Oh yeah. maybe Treebeard doesn't even consider rowan trees big trees. They're beneath him.
They don't even qualify root and twig. Oh,
what a chapter. Yeah, do you have any more notes?
Do you remember a couple chapters ago, Sam said something about there are elves and then there are elves?
Yeah.
Well, Treebeard said the same thing about Ents.
There are ants and then there are ants.
Yeah, that just proves how smart Sam is.
Yeah, Sam. Yep. Wow.
Yep, that's my whole note.
As many runs as Tolkien takes at Sam.
He subtly slips in that he's the best character.
Yeah. I can't wait for Legolas to meet Treebeard.
Oh, I don't even remember how that plays out.
I can't remember either, but like, does he know about him? Does he know about ants?
That's what happens in the next chapter. Yeah. The other boys discuss the Ents briefly, and it's actually pretty sweet.
Okay, yeah, because I can't remember even from the movies what he like. I have this vague memory from the movie of like Legolas just being dumbstruck.
Excuse me. I think all the scenes with Legolas and like Gimli and Aragorn interacting with Treebeard, I think they might have actually been the extended scenes. in the movie.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure though, but I think I'm pretty sure there are ones that were like scenes that were not in the theaters, but
Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out soon.
yes, we will find out soon.
My last note, Corey, is: do you think Treebeard knows Tom Bombadil?
It said in the text that he was very interested in everything that the Hobbit said, including Tom Bombadil. But it didn't mention that they knew each other, which I thought was kind of strange. So I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe Tom doesn't go very far, but he lives in the old forest, which used to be the same forest.
Yeah, that's where he was confined.
Yeah, unless Tom Bombadil is a liar and he's not the oldest, unless he's somehow the villain of the Fourth Age.
Yeah, the greatest evil, remember?
Yes. Proof in the text, you decide, dear listeners.
Yep, that's why Treebeard wanted to know. Treebeard probably helped confine him.
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, I hope he didn't escape.
He better not have.
Maybe Old Man Willow is the ent that was left there to like keep him in place.
Oh, he's gotten old and confused and hungry.
Yeah, he's gone all tree-ish.
Fantastic theory.
Yeah. I had a note that was just the description of Treebeard. If you'd like me to, I can read it, Mike.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, we got 7 toes, no knees, twiggy moss beard, deep brown eyes with a green light, smooth brown skin, 14 feet high, hardly any neck. He sounds kind of gross.
Oh, he sounds disgusting.
It's really hard to imagine like the no knee thing and also like the really big 7-toed feet. But like the cool thing is you try to wrap your head around Treebeard and then you get to the moot and it's like, oh, so it turns out like no ent is anything at all like any other ent, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's kind of a sad thing about the movie. Like they do look different, but not crazy different.
Yeah, not so wildly different as as this describes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one last note. It's an interesting little nugget that Treebeard is concerned about the hobbits giving out their rightful names to just anyone.
Right. Names are power, Corey.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. In like magic and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But
Treebeard is all magic.
He is, yeah. But he also tells them so much about himself.
Yeah, he makes his decision, he makes up his mind about them pretty quickly.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. You either step on a squirrel or he becomes your best friend.
Yeah. I think he just feels like kin to them in some way.
Oh, interesting hint, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was my last note. Have you got any more?
That's me. That's all. I'm done.
Oh shit. Okay, cool.
What's next? Cooking with Sam?
Oh yeah, let's go. Shall we?
What's in this? Nothing. Just a bit of seasoning. I thought maybe if we was having a roast chicken one night or something.
Welcome to Cooking with Sam, where we discuss the recipe that we cooked up for this chapter.
Cooked up in Sam's absent honor.
Yeah, he wasn't here, but we were. And, what was this one called, Corey? It was Bilbo Seed Cake?
It was Bilbo's seed cake, yes.
Bilbo Seed Cake. What did you think?
This was easily my least favorite recipe.
It was my favorite recipe.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect of this whole thing.
Yeah. What was it that turned you off about this one?
For one thing, I don't understand how a quote seed cake can only have one kind of seed in it. That kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
What I think has been happening, Mike, is I think the closer I've followed the recipes, the less I've enjoyed the recipes so far. The ones that I've deviated from, I liked more.
Yeah. There were some things about this recipe that I ignored. because I've worked as a baker. I've baked my fair share, and
Yep.
this author kind of set you up for complete failure.
I've also spent some time working as a baker, Mike. And we're both definitely home bakers. And I followed this stupid recipe to the letter, and it set me up for failure.
Yeah,
yeah.
he doesn't have you crush the seeds. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
You got to crush them.
What really got me was how he was like, you add the flour and the egg a little bit at a time to the butter and sugar. And
While you're mixing the entire time.
Yeah, I was like, I've never done this in any other recipe, and I was like, surely there must be a result that I'm like, oh, that was a good idea.
Yeah, rock hard bread or cake. That's what he's going for.
That's certainly what I got.
Yeah, I didn't do that, so I didn't get that. Mine was nice and fluffy because I didn't listen to this idiot.
Yeah, yours looked really good, actually.
Yeah, because he had us developing gluten, or he would have had us developing gluten, forming the gluten bond.
Yeah. Well, okay. That leads me to a question. Do you know what the fuck self-rising flour is?
Yeah. So that's another way he fucked us. Self-rising flour just has like basically like baking soda mixed in.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah, but I've never seen that in a recipe before this book.
Yeah, I looked up the ratio to make it yourself. So.
Oh, cool. Interesting.
Yeah, so I got a rise. It wasn't a dried, sharp, pricky, hard loaf of shit. Mine was a delicate cake, and it was delicious.
Mike, I didn't even finish mine. And and for me to throw out a baked good is fucking saying something.
I didn't get to eat as much of mine as I wanted to because everyone else ravaged it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It turned out beautiful. It was wonderful.
Huh. That's very interesting.
Nice, subtle, delicate cake. And the orange. Oof. I also put in more orange than he called for.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. This is nothing on young Robert Tousley Anderson personally or his writing, but man, I had a hard fucking time finding caraway seeds.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I went to a bunch of different places. I was like, surely it's here. And then I finally went to Bulk Barn, and maybe I should have known that Bulk Barn would have had it in the first place, but Bulk Barn was a little out of my way. So
yeah. One of my notes was crushing the seeds sucked. I didn't have I don't have a pestle or anything like that. So I was just using the blunt end of a knife.
Right.
And they were shooting all over the place.
Yeah, I think I ended up doing that too. I'm pretty sure I did crush them, but yeah, I don't know. For the most part, I followed his stinky old recipe.
Yeah, but he doesn't mention that. Like, they're pretty dangerous looking seeds. I didn't want to have one stick into the roof of my mouth or something.
Didn't you get one cut in your eye? Didn't you say something like that?
One hit me in the eye
didn't you
while I was
text me
crushing them. Yeah.
I forgot about that till just now. There should be a warning. It should be like 20 minutes prep time, 30 minutes cook. Also, watch out for seeds in your eye.
Well, he doesn't tell you to crush them, so he wants you to cut the shit out of your inner mouth and your gums.
Recipes from the world of Tolkien does not care about your gum health.
Cut his gums up pretty bad. My last note about it was it just made me want a lemon poppy seed loaf.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
A superior loaf.
Superior loaf. I wanted, and what I was really hoping that this would be was like maybe a sort of sweet cake, like maybe along the lines of a pound cake, but with lots of different seeds in it. Like,
oh right.
Like I kind of like when we were talking about the cram, we were like the thing that really saved the cram was the seeds that you choose to put in it.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking forward to a variety of seeds, like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, poppy seeds.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a seed cake as much as it's just a cake.
Yeah,
like an orange cake, basically with a little bit of black licorice flavor.
All in all, I would not recommend this recipe. But-
I would, but crushing the caraway was not worth it.
well, I mean, yeah, I guess if you have a mortar and pestle, but it's like, I mean, even, yeah, I'd say you and I probably cook and bake more, perhaps more than average, but do you ever need a mortar and pestle? So we don't have one.
Not often. I've got some prepackaged curry in my cupboard that I can't get around to because I don't have that to crush the spices that it wants me to toast.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I'm not going to use my coffee grinder for that. Are you kidding me?
You'd have days of curry flavored coffee. And while that might be delicious, it's not necessarily what you want in the morning.
No. I have to clean the burrs. Yeah. Well, yeah. So this is the first one that you have hated and I have loved.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Interesting. Are we doing another? I think we're doing one more. That's what we agreed.
Yeah, I think we decided the next one would be the last one. And I looked through a lot of the recipes, like a lot of the ones that appealed to me. You know, obviously the name. And there were a few that I looked at. I was like, oh, that would be good. And then I read through the recipe and I was like, this just doesn't make sense. And I don't understand why. I'll give you an example. Bjorn's honey cakes.
Yeah.
I've had baked goods that have honey in them and they're so good. They're delicious. Bjorn's honey cakes in this recipe book is just a muffin and then you drizzle honey on top. There's no actual honey in the cake itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked at the same thing and I'm really mad too. Maybe we just need to maybe we need to give up on this guy.
Well, I got one. There was one that I looked at. Maybe I shouldn't spoil it. Maybe we should just let everyone look forward to it the next episode. And I think it'll be our final hurrah.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you, Mike?
Tell me after.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at a honey cake right now. It looks really good.
Like an actual honey cake?
Yeah. Honey cakes. They look really good. Okay. Anyway.
I had these like honey lavender cookies. I think it was like a fairly traditional Italian recipe, like years and years and years ago. Oh my God, it was so good.
Lavender? Oh boy, I bet.
Cast it into the fire!
Fan Cast It Into the Fire, the segment where we decide who will be our fantasy pick for one of the characters introduced in this chapter in our brand new 72-hour version of The Lord of the Rings.
72-hour version of Fellowship of the Ring.
Currently on Kickstarter. Once we hit 750 million, we're gonna get going. Mike, who are you casting into the fire?
Oh, I asked to cast Treebeard.
Demanded, if you will.
Demanded, and I didn't text you when I thought of it, but I woke up in the middle of the night and thought about this.
That would have been a really funny text to see in the morning.
Yeah, I was afraid I'd wake you up at like 3 a.m, or it would probably be like 6 a.m. or something. But Treebeard is played by Tommy Chong.
And why did you select that, Mike? I feel like you had a theme in mind.
Because all the Ents are old stoners. Is that why? Is that what I said?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That is what you said.
Yeah, and then I was imagining Treebeard's dialogue all in Tommy Chong's voice, and it was just killing me.
It puts like, you told me this early. It puts a hilarious, like, different flavor on the dialogue.
The wiseness is gone.
Yeah, completely different, like, inflection, and yeah, just so good.
Well, by the time we finish Return of the King, AI will have progressed to the point where we can probably just make this movie.
Yes, actually, much like the holodeck in Star Trek: The Next Generation, we can be like, build for us a 72-hour long version of The Lord of the Rings with.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool.
Corey, who are you casting?
Well, Mike, the only one left to cast this chapter would have been Quickbeam.
Yeah.
And after you told me your plan for old stoners to be to be Ents, I went through a bit of a thing. I went through a lot of different choices. Seth Rogen kept coming up repeatedly. You mentioned Seth Rogen, and then Tiffany mentioned Seth Rogen, and I just kept getting so angry because I hate Seth Rogen. As we also discussed previously, I very much dislike him. But the first one that crossed my mind was Matthew McConaughey.
Oh man.
Just imagine that drawl.
Young Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. But no, I decided not. I came up with a much better one. Mike, I think Quick Beam should be played by Jason Mewes. Imagine him just going.
What have you done?
Imagine like the different flavor of him talking about the rowan trees.
Yeah, I'm picturing rowan berries in his long hair.
Do you remember in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back when they're like, "Hey Jay, can you tell us about the clit?" He's like, "I am the clit commander." I imagine that kind of monologue when he's talking about rowan trees.
Yeah. Snoochie boochies.
Also, as a slight side note, as a result of this, I am determined to cast somebody as Snoop Dogg before this is done.
Oh boy, he could really fit in anywhere, couldn't he?
Yes, and it would be so good.
we missed our chance with Elrond, but I think we'll find a spot.
I thought maybe Denethor.
Oh boy. Oh boy. No, he needs to be someone more pleasant.
Who's left?
There are a couple of good guys coming up.
Yeah, okay.
Some men of quality, Corey.
Oh my God.
Moving on.
Okay. Yeah, next segment. Shall we go to the Matham House?
Matham House, Corey. I'm eager.
The Matham House, it was called.
Welcome to the Matham House, the place where even an Ent would get bored. That was the intro that I wrote down. This is the segment where we discuss a little tidbit from the chapter and we do a deep dive on it. And Mike, I think I asked you to speculate on the Entwives.
You did. You said find a crazy theory. So I've got the actual text, the best explanation you can get from Tolkien.
Yes.
And I've got the most outlandish theory I found. Which one do you want?
Shall we do the outlandish one first and then the Tolkien, or do I have to choose?
Let's do the outlandish one first.
Okay.
The most outlandish one is that the Entwives, Corey, they went north, and over the ages they became hobbits.
Is there more to that?
There's a couple of little tidbits, little breadcrumbs.
Okay. Okay.
When Treebeard first meets Merry and Pippin, he says, "Nice little voices. They remind me of something I cannot remember."
Oh dear God.
Do you remember him saying he can't remember the Entwives' faces? Only their eyes.
Oh my God. And then he stares deeply into their eyes.
Yeah. The description of the hobbits, their faces were as a rule good-natured rather than beautiful, broad, bright-eyed, red-cheeked, with mouths apt to laughter. And Treebeard's description of the Entwives, their hair is parched by the sun to the hue of ripe corn. Their cheeks are apple red.
Apple red.
Their eyes were the eyes of our own people. And I think he says something about their quick laughter. The laughter of the Entwives. They didn't go east. They didn't go west. They didn't go south. They went north.
Right. They crossed the river
of the Anduin, between the Misty Mountains and the Greenwood, aka Mirkwood. a fertile agricultural land, and the hobbits are known farmers.
Yeah, and he says, I think the Entwives would have liked the Shire.
Yes, they would have, because they planted seeds in the Shire. The Entwives are the hobbits, Corey.
I'm still kind of processing this. That kind of makes like, I was joking about their interaction with Treebeard being kind of awkward in my summary, but this makes it perhaps the most awkward.
But he's so quick to like them.
Yeah, to trust them, of course. Yeah, because they're they're the Entwives. Wow. I am. You know what? This is great. I am floored by that. That is not even close to what I would have expected. This is so good.
Yeah. So Tolkien's words.
Is that a straight mic?
Yeah, I think he was answering a letter.
Oh yeah.
I think that, in fact, the Entwives had disappeared for good, being destroyed with their gardens in the War of the Last Alliance, when Sauron pursued a scorched earth policy and burned their land against the advice of the allies down at Anduin. Tolkien writes at this point, blah, 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 blah. All the gardens of the Entwives are wasted. Men call them the Brown Lands now, south of Mirkwood, not far east of Banghorn. The Entwives survived only in the agriculture transmitted to men and hobbits. Some, of course, may have fled east or even have become enslaved. Tyrants, even in such tales, must have an economic and agricultural background to their soldiers and metal workers.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they some might have gotten away, some might have been enslaved, some might have become trolls. And Tolkien doesn't say this, but trolls are the bastardized version of Ents.
Yeah, you know what, that actually, like, that crossed my mind because the beginnings of orcs were ruined elves, and so and Treebeard says that trolls are like ruined Ents, and so they had to come from somewhere.
I think that's most likely that they became trolls.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
Gross. That's why there's nothing up those skirts.
Yeah, that's also kind of interesting backstory for the Brownlands. Yeah. Wow. Because I mean, really, Tolkien didn't put much, if anything, into these books without like having some forethought about it.
Yeah. He probably had a few different ideas of what happened to the Entwives. Yeah.
And it's interesting when you see at the end of the Fellowship when they pass the Brownlands too. You're like, what the fuck happened there? and you wonder about it. And he's good at doing that. He's good at making you wonder about the backstory of things.
Yeah, that's the best thing about these books. Like, something happens in passing, and there's such depths to the world. You know, something much deeper is going on there. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it's you almost like as a fan of these books, and as I have been for years, you wonder to yourself what happens to the Entwives, and you don't really want to believe that they're all gone, but that is like really probably the most likely explanation.
It's pretty tragic. Like, how old is Treebeard? 10,000 years old?
God, yeah, probably.
Been without a partner for a few thousand years?
Yep. Yeah. And the sad reality that there like can be no more Ents.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Sad, or maybe not so sad. Depending on your take on the Ents.
Good one. Mike, maybe the withering of all woods is at hand.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
All right, moving on. I don't let's not get political, Corey.
Sorry. Yeah, sweet. No, great Matham, Mike.
We're gonna get more angry emails.
I was trying to be careful how
I will draw you, Saruman, as poison is drawn from a wound.
I will draw you Saruman, the segment where we discuss the chapter illustration done by one of our two hosts, and that being you today, Mike.
Yeah, it was me. Sorry, I'm laughing at my own picture.
Okay. I've received it, and I'm opening her up. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it, but do not let us be. This is fantastic, Mike.
So it's kind of a take on a Swamp Thing cover.
I kind of thought it might be Swamp Thing, yeah.
But I mixed Swamp Thing with Tommy Chong. And I started laughing after your chapter summary fits his stupid end face so well.
Oh my god, it really, really does. Just winking at him. Do you know what my other name is?
You want to hear about my wives?
Oh, this is sweet. Yeah, I like it quite a bit. I actually really like. I love the color too. Like that's a really satisfying green. I have to say. Maybe is it because it's a halftone?
Yeah, it's I used some Procreate like color libraries.
Oh,
And it's super fun to make it like this. Like it basically you have a full. It's basically a scan of a texture someone's created.
yeah.
And then you're subtracting from it to create your. Oh no, sorry. You create a mask and then you paint where you want to paint. But what you're painting is just that flat color.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, it's a fun process to go through.
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah, you really nailed that old Swamp Thing comic look.
What a creep.
No, I love it. Yeah, it's so good.
Kind of reminds me of old man. What's his name? The swamp guy from that English show.
The Swamp Guy in the English show? What are you talking about?
Old Greg.
Oh, great. Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, I think you've shown me that before.
Yeah.
Didn't we cast someone and then you had to show me old Greg because of that?
Oh, we might have. Yes, but who was it?
I don't know.
I can't remember. Oh, you know who? You know what might have been our biggest F up?
What's that?
I'm saying the F word. I'm afraid to say fuck after you dropped clit earlier.
Like our podcast is called that. Hobbit shit.
Yeah. I've got a toddler for you.
Oh, right. Sorry, I apologize.
We didn't cast James Gandolfini as Gandalf.
That would have been dank as hell.
Yeah, it would have.
You know, it's funny. I kind of look back on some of our casts, and it's really funny because like I think some of them are jokes and some of them are not, and so it makes for a really weird cast.
Yeah, it's a nice mix, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a very good mix.
There's some real seriousness in there, and then some like not serious.
No, like Nandor capturing Guillermo and Tommy Chong.
Bill the Pony.
Oh, yeah. Bill the Pony having dialogue in general. Oh, Bill the Pony should be like the narrator of the whole thing. Like,
oh wow, like a stage play.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of bad ones or like joke ones. Bill the Pony. Looking back,
It's just less serious than others. I mean, like look at Bilbo and Gandalf, for example. They're like, both of those actors can certainly be serious.
Yeah.
However,
Bill was maybe a little miscast. Yeah. And yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's all coming together. Is what I think.
Yeah. We've got 8 minutes, Corey. Can we finish this up? Are we? What do we have?
Sure. Yeah, I think we did it. You know what? I tried to look into Hobbit news, Mike. But all I found was that apparently they are working on the second season of The Rings of Power at the moment.
Oh, good.
Being shot in England.
Hopefully, the writer's strike ruins it.
No, I think AI might have written it from the start, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll wrap her up. Thank you very much for listening to episode 4, chapter 4 of the Two Towers. You can find us on Instagram at that Hobbit Shit. You can find us on Twitter at Hobbit Shit. Support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/that Hobbit Shit. We also have plenty of Hobbit Shit merch out there on several different merch sites.
Oh yeah, we didn't ever actually announce that, did we?
We announced it at the end of the last episode, and I think by the time we had posted it, it was live. So I think we're good.
Okay. We're good.
And I think it's on our like link tree now.
Oh, right. We did add it there. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? And actually, speaking of which, I am for sure going to get myself a Team Mordor shirt. But maybe a pair of shorts too. I don't know. Because I think that would be a really good work shirt. Anyhow, what did I got? We got Instagram, we got Twitter, we got Patreon. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much for listening. And thank you to our Patreon supporters. And thank you to our Patreon supporters, Jeremy and Nicole. And thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time. I'm Corey.
And I'm Mike.
And may the
hair
on your toes, your
never
7 toes, never fall out.
Never fall out.
Fall out.